So welcome everyone. Hello, I'm Michele Landers. I'm really excited that you guys could all join me on this masterclass today. I guess since we're all pretty much homebound, and these times are just a great opportunity for us to learn new things or even take a look at something you might already know a little bit about. So let's start off. I always like to start off by just doing one simple little thing. Just let's settle in, take a deep breath and shake everything off. Just breathe in. And now do it like this. So when you breathe in, go, ah. And I like to do that 2 more times. Breathe in. And then just let it out with a releasing everything. And one more time. Because I'd really like all of us to be really present and have your mind clear, because we're going to be spending probably about an hour, maybe a little bit more, depending on how it goes. And I don't want you to miss any of the important pieces I'm going to share with you. So, number 1, does everyone have a pencil and paper? And if you don't have a pencil and paper, then I would suggest that you scurry and get one right now if you can. But again, this is recorded, so you can always come back, and just remember that. And for a lot of you that registered, you should have received the download on how to calculate your life path. But I'm going to bring that up too in about 10 minutes, so everybody can see that, how to do that. So anyway, if you don't have that download or you don't have a pencil and paper, again, don't worry about it. We can go through it and you can see it on the recording. So who is this masterclass for today? Well, it's for you if you wonder, what are your gifts and talents? Because, we all came into this world with gifts and talents. And what are your gifts and talents? How do you best use them? Or maybe you find yourself getting overwhelmed and frustrated and you're not sure why. Or maybe, although you do appreciate your life, for the most part, you really enjoy it, but maybe there's just that little bit of feeling of, is this all there is? Or maybe a vague feeling of dissatisfaction. So that's who this class is for today. And anybody who's interested in numerology and just learning a little bit more about it. So since I do love intentions, I also have intentions for this class. And my intention for the class is that you begin to see your life through a new lens, that you get a glimpse of why you are here, and you understand on a deep level that you have a talent and a purpose. And I can tell you that when you understand numerology, you have this roadmap that helps you better navigate through life, with an enormous advantage of being able not only to understand yourself and your life path, but if you really delve into numerology and you decide, wow, I really want to learn how to do charts, then you get the advantage of having like this X-ray vision in a sense and understanding other people. So I don't think it was on the registration, but just for showing up for this class on the call with me today, you're going to get a printout of the numbers from 1 to 9 with a brief explanation of each number. And I'm not quite sure how we're going to do that. I'll talk to Ruth towards the end of the class, but we'll figure it out. You can always just, worst case scenario, you can contact me and I'll just send it off to you. So to begin with, I just want to tell you very briefly about who I am, so you kind of have a reference point and an understanding of why I'm so passionate about what I do and what I'm about to share with you. Because the catalyst for my own searching for answers to the question, why am I here? In fact, why are we all here? Came about from being brought up in a dysfunctional family. Now, some of you might be familiar with the dysfunctional family story. And if you are, hopefully you've realized at some point we all signed up for this pre-birth. And honestly, I really have little doubt within my own family that we all had this divine contract. And that's what we're talking about today through numerology, about your divine contract. So I believe in my family, we all had a divine contract with one another to work out issues. And that's with a great big I. So, because really it's all about how we react. It's not ever about the other person. So anyway, I ventured out into life with a lot of skewed perceptions on how life works. So you can imagine I went down a lot of really rocky roads. So I wanted to know, I had a lifelong desire and a lifelong search that's never ended, by the way, to discover answers to some of the questions I had when I was just a kid. And again, you know, I went down through a lot of rocky areas, a lot of rocky roads, but you know what? It all lifted me up. And I experienced some incredible highs, and I met the most amazing people along the way. And I think that probably for some of you that are on the call today, you probably have that same story too. So when we start this journey, even though it can be really rocky at times, if we're really good observers, we see the miracles in so many things that show up in our life, and we become better co-creators of miracles. So early on in my career, I spent some time in the medical field as an administrator in the field of neurosurgery, as well as a pain clinic and a few other specialties. I studied psychology, Eastern and Western philosophies, spirituality, law of attraction. I also studied to become an addictions counselor, and you can imagine, might imagine why that happened, because I wanted to fix people. And I've also taken a toe dip into that wacky world of quantum physics, or what Albert Einstein refers to as spooky action at a distance. But guess what? What I learned from all of these experiences is that the paradox of life is that the universe is both predestined and offers us free will. So I would like to talk to you a little bit more about that. I think that we come here to experience and certain situations and meet certain people. And the universe has all of eternity to play this game with us. And it's our job to stay with the lesson and figure it out. But we don't have to. That's where the free will comes. We could say, no, I'm not doing this right now. And again, the universe has all of eternity, so we just come back and do it over and over again until we get it. And numerology will help you to understand and to see what some of your karmic lessons are, what some of your karmic debts are, and there is a difference. At any rate, now I'm a board certified life coach, a certified hypnotherapist, professional numerologist. I've written 2 books, The Tao of Numbers, which is a basic numerology handbook, and The Year of Living Miraculously, which is part personal narrative and part workbook on how I've created real miracles in my life, and my personal take on the law of attraction and what steps you can take that can help you too. Now, I'm telling you all this not in any way to be like boastful or arrogant. Look what I did, because Lord knows the more I learn, the more I realize how much I need to learn. I'm just telling you all this because I want to let you know this is not my weekend hobby or something I decided to dabble in. It's my life, and it has been for the better part of 35 years. So as we dive into the class, again, I would ask that you all just breathe in deeply. And I would also ask that you bring your inner child to participate. And once I did that, and somebody said to me, I have a mean little inner child. And so I said, okay, so don't bring your inner child, then just bring the part of you that puts judgment aside and preconceived ideas about how things work. And then we can have some fun with that. Is that fair enough? Okay, well, let's get started. So I think where I should begin, right, is what is numerology? What the heck is it about? Well, in the simplest explanation, it's just a study of numbers. It's the science or law of vibrational frequency or energy, which now in this day and age, when you mention vibrational frequency or energy, everybody knows what you're talking about. 25 years ago, I would say that and people would kind of glaze over, but now we know that energy is within all things. Energy is even in, let's say, like this little angel that I have, this metal angel. Now it vibrates at a different frequency, but nonetheless, everything is energetic. So on a more complex level, numerology is the understanding and the interpretation of numbers and letters, because letters have numerical correlates. The numbers individually represent certain characteristics. However, when these numbers and letters are combined to form a name and a birth date, what begins to emerge is a very personal story of your life, your purpose, your challenges, your gifts, your talents. And when we understand the numerical vibration of your birth name and full birth date, we gain insight not only into your past, but your present and even your future. And what I like to tell people, so you want to know the most opportune time to pursue your goals and dreams? Your name and your birth date has that information. Now, conversely, with numerology, you can determine those periods of time when it would be to your advantage to kind of wait with quiet patience for the astrological, numerological skies to clear. So how I got into numerology was I had my numerological profile done by Dr. Kevin Quinn Avery, who is now passed. And he was a master metaphysician, a numerologist, an astrologist, and a Kabbalist. And I don't know, God knows what else, but I was blown away at the knowledge he had of my life and my life path, my karmic, what was going on in my life at the time. And he was just doing it with numbers. And he did it all based on my birth name and my birth date. And, you know, this was way before you could look up somebody on the computer. So it was equally amazing. So I was so impressed that even though I was at the time working in the medical field, I began to study with him. And I can tell you that I really tried his patience, and he would always be available for me when I had questions. Because studying numerology, what is really important to understand, now we're going to talk about your life path today, but there's a whole lot of other numbers in everybody's chart, as I mentioned, that completes the picture. And one of the things that Kevin kept hounding away at me and drilling into me is, Michele, you have to look at all the numbers. You have to look at how they either complement or they challenge one another. And then I would call him again. And this went on for years. And when I was dating, I would call him and say, Kevin, what about this guy? And most of the time I would say, is this it? And he would go, and you have to picture this. Kevin was a big burly guy and smoked a big cigar. And that's when you could smoke indoors. And I could always picture him on the phone doing this. And I would say, Kevin, so how is this guy? What do you think? Is this it? And he would do his calculations and he would say, no, no good, no blankety blank good. And he kept telling me, you've got to look at all the numbers. So that was some 35 years ago. And I think I finally got it. So although at the time my life path was clearly defined, I didn't get it until years later. And by the way, I'm a 3 life path. That's perfect for what I do. It's perfect for what I'm doing right now. But what I do want to stress with you is that in numerology, similar, I guess, to astrology, we all have 4 core numbers. Your core numbers come from your birth date and your full birth name. So to get us a little bit started on this number interpretation, my core numbers are 3, 6, 1, and 4. So believe me, that is a mix that can really battle it out. If you want to add in there that I also have a karmic debt number of 13, which indicates a past life issue, well, again, it makes sense why my life is the way it's been. So here I am with a 3 life path that just loves to have fun, the social butterfly, talk, 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 right, spread joy, joy, joy. And of course, you know, I'm just telling you the good side of the 3, right? Not the challenging part. And I also have a 6 that wants to be of service to people, but I really have to watch that because I can also be a caretaker and a codependent, which I was for a very long time. And then I have a 1, and that's innovative, creative, independent. But my 1 is also saying, don't tell me what to do. And then add to that my number 4, that can be a bit stubborn. So all these numbers contribute to why I am who I am. And understanding the gifts and the challenges, really understanding the challenges, has allowed me to be a better observer, not only of who I am, but of other people. And it's given me just more understanding, more compassion. So let's talk about your life path and your destiny. So your life path, which is composed of your month, day, and year of birth, is the why you are here. It's your purpose. It's your passion. It can be your passion, like it is for me. It is that important. Your life path can show you the way to happiness and fulfillment, and it also can show you the challenges and the pitfalls that you might or honestly will likely encounter. So again, everyone has 4 core numbers, and your other 3 core numbers completes this beautiful story of you and why you are who you are. It's amazingly accurate. And if you have had your numerology chart read, or you had a chance to view any of the recent chart readings I've done on EWN, you can see how accurate, amazingly accurate it is. So know that each number offers up its gift and its challenge. That's life. Up and down, in and out, yin and yang. We can't know bitter without sweet. This is just the way life is. So our job is to embrace the gift and to learn from the challenges. Because in the end, guess what? That's what life is about. It's the spiritual evolution of our precious soul. When we know what our gifts are, well, not only is that a wonderful piece of information. But guess what? We're in this planet with a lot of other people. So it's our job to develop that gift. And then it's our responsibility to share it with others. And I don't take that lightly, and I don't think others should either, but that's just my opinion. And I also want to mention something else that's really important. I want you to know that there's no lowly talents or gifts or jobs, nor are there any lofty talents or gifts or jobs. And I say this repeatedly, and I know some people who are listening are going to say, oh God, not again, but it's important. If making ice cream is your passion, then make the best damn ice cream and share it with others. That's how it goes. That's how you uplift not only yourself, but others. And just so you know, fame does not mean that you are more worthwhile or that you're the absolute best at something. I know there are plenty of people out there who have enormous talent in their field that aren't famous in the world's eyes. It simply means either that wasn't their desire to pursue fame. And I do know people who are incredibly talented who do like to either sing or whatever it is, but they either share it at church or they share it with their family. So they don't have a desire to pursue fame. Or guess what? It wasn't that time, their time to do that. Now, with that said, our ego has a different story to tell about that, but that certainly is for another discussion. So I hope you do all have a pencil and a paper, and or you've downloaded it, but this is what I'm going to do in 1 minute. I am going to share my screen in a second. As soon as I find, okay. Well, how is that going to work? Okay. Let me close that down. Just bear with me a second. I want to share my screen so I can show you how to do this for those of you who don't know. And the reason I really want to show you is because it's really, really important that you add up your numbers the correct way. Because if you don't, sometimes we can miss really important numbers. So I am not always so technologically. Okay, share screen. Okay. Share. Okay, can you guys, okay, can you guys see? Anybody? Okay, you can see it? Okay, great, great, great. So this is just something, a handout that I usually, I distribute in a workshop. I hope it's clear. Maybe I can enlarge it a little bit so it's better. This is how you add your correct, this is how you add your life. This is how, okay, rewind. This is the correct way to add your life, your numbers together, your birth path together to get the correct interpretation and the correct number. So as you see here, I use 3/13/1950, and I added it vertically. Then I took the total, which was 1966, and I added each of those numbers individually, and that equaled 22/4. So that's the correct way. Example 2 is the incorrect way, because when you add, break it down horizontally, what you would get is a 13/4. and that's incorrect. So I will just tell you this. This is the way I was taught. Kevin was emphatic about this. And what is the difference? In example number 1, I came up with a 22-4, and there are master numbers in numerology that we have to pay attention to: 11, 22, 33, and in actuality, all double numbers have an intensity about them. But for the most part, we stick with the interpretations of the 11, 22, and 33. So if I added that life path horizontally right from the beginning, I would have missed that 22 life path, which is really important, really important. So I hope everybody's got that. So I'll give you just a minute. Maybe I'll just talk about this. While you're doing that, while you're adding it up, and before I start giving you the interpretations, I just want everybody to know that this is one aspect of your chart. So when you interpret it, I can interpret it and tell you what all of the characteristics are, but what flavors everything is your name and the different characteristics of your name, the numbers, each letter. The shape of a letter in numerology has meaning. A lot of people don't know that. The shape of it, the meaning of the letter, because an A, J, and S, they all have the value of 1, but guess what? A is 1, J is 10, and S is 28, I believe. I think so. So they all equal 1, but they all have a different interpretation, as do each of the letters. So I'm going to put that down right now, and I hope everybody has gotten their numbers and their life path. And again, I just want to tell you that even if you didn't figure it out right now, you can always watch this again and you'll be able to figure it out. Let me get my computer screen. Okay, let's see what we got. All righty. I wish I could speak in a British or Australian accent. I just love it. I really do. All right, Governor. Sorry about that. Sometimes I'm silly. That happens to be the 3. Okay, what's happening here? Okay, all right. Well, I'm not going to open the screen up anymore. Here we go. One little thing, maybe I forgot to mention that whatever total you come up to has to be, yeah, this was really important, except for the 22 or the 11, anything else that your numbers totaled, you would reduce to a single digit. So in that little calculation, if your calculation, you added the numbers vertically, and then the total you added horizontally. If you came up to a 21, you would add 2 and 1 together, and that would be 3. If you came up with a 24, you would add 2 and 4 together, and that would equal a 6. So hopefully everybody's got that straight. If you have an 11 or a 22, you don't reduce it. So this is about your life path, how you can best live it, what are your talents, and we're going to talk a little bit about your challenges. And I know when I talk about that, a lot of times people go, oh, I must have been horrible in another life. Believe me, we've had so many lives. We've been up and down the scale. We've been good, we've been bad, we've been indifferent. It's all a learning experience, and it's all about our spiritual evolution. So don't be put off if there's some things that you go, oh my goodness, oh, I don't want to own that. And when we can own the shadow parts of us, guess what? We just skyrocket. So if you have a number one life path, basically it's a life of being original. It can be a life of attainment, independence, individuality. It's very authoritative. It's one has really good leadership skills. It has a pioneering spirit. It's an innovative thinker, and ones prefer to work alone. So what's the flip side of that? Well, the flip side of that, there's a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of, it's a male energy, number one, and it's also some egocentric stuff goes on there. So the flip side is, if you're not working within the positive energy, and you get to choose, if you're not working within the positive energy of the one, the flip side can be a little overbearing and egocentric. Now, interestingly, there are some ones who become overly dependent, and they need to learn to stand alone and rely on their self. But that stuff would be worked out if you knew, your name, not if you knew your name, but if you calculate your name, then more of that information would depend on how many other ones or twos came up. So in a past life, perhaps you were too dependent on others. Now, I did say that I would talk about, just briefly, about the tarot card correlates. Now, I've been spending some time back and forth at my daughter's, and when I got my tarot cards, I was missing some. I don't know how that happened. So briefly, I'm going to show you the number one, the tarot coordinate or correlate is the Magician. And if you know anything about the tarot, the Magician is the first card of the tarot deck. Well, actually, it's the Fool, but the Magician has so many talents. He gets to utilize all his tools in the universe to become an alchemist. He's creative, he's inventive, he's magical. So that's a little bit about the one. And of course, there's so much more, but this is an hour class. So I'm going to do the best I can to get not only it all in, but if there is any questions, we'll see where we can go with that. Now, if you have a number 2, now that would be if your total came up to 20, or it came up to, let's just deal with 20. So number 2, now 2s, which is a female energy, 2s like to be in relationships. It's a life of companionship. It's a life of association. It's usually a life of marriage, or at least wanting to be married and wanting to be in a relationship. 2s like to be with other people. It's very sensitive. It's very giving. It can be very cooperative. 2s prefer to work as a team. 2s don't like to rock the boat, but interestingly, they can in very subtle ways. The flip side of a 2 is problems in marriages and association until they really learn what cooperation is. Not only that, but many 2s suffer from oversensitivity, and that has to be overcome. Now, for 2s, the past life, they may have been critical. They may have lacked diplomacy and understanding. And so in this life, they've got to learn those traits. Now, that's not always the case. I'm just giving you a very strong possibility of why you picked a 2 in this lifetime. So the two tarot card coordinate is the High Priestess. That is the high priestess, yes. Now, if you know anything about tarot, the high priestess is the keeper of secrets. And that's a very interesting thing about it too, because twos, in order to not rock the boat, sometimes they will resort to not telling the complete truth because they don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. And they're good at, you know, like being secretive about things or not revealing everything. But on the high side, they're wonderful and cooperative people. They like to do things. They're great behind the scenes workers. So that's about the 2 and female, as I said. Now, number 3, if you have a 3 life path, which was either a 12 or a 21 or a 30, well, that's my life path, which I love. And it can be a really fun, pleasant life path filled with a lot of harmony and beauty and friends and a lot of creativity. And a 3 life path has to express. And that can be in words, or it can be in art, or it can be musically. Whatever it is, for a number 3, communication is central to their existence. They appreciate beauty. What's the flip side of a 3? They scatter their energy all over the place. Guilty. They don't establish any solid foundations in the past. Guilty. And a past life didn't fully express your talents or was too lazy and didn't develop them. And they took their talents for granted. They didn't do anything with it. So the tarot card coordinate for the number 3 is the Empress. And she's just bountiful and full of creativity and full of energy. And she has an open spirit. So now let's go to the number 4. If you have a 4 life path, and we're not talking about the 22 yet, we're talking about a 31. If you had a total of a 31 or a 13. So the number 4 life path, this is really interesting. They are the salt of the earth. They like productivity. They like practicality. They like details. They like to establish firm foundations. And I'll tell you a little funny story about a 4. And when we get to the 8, I asked someone I know who is a 4, we were just hanging out and we were talking about, what do you like to do best in the world? And this person who was a 4 said to me, I like to make bank deposits. So 4s and 8s really like security. They are pretty much the nose to the grindstone type of person. They are reliable, they're hardworking, they're loyal, they're good with details, unless they're not, because the flip side of a number 4 is that they worry too much, they're controlling, they have a tendency to take shortcuts, and they avoid any type of routine. And for a 4, their past life involved some laziness, a desire to avoid work at all possible costs. And so in this life, but again, and I think it's important to mention that within anybody's life path, we probably have a little bit of both. I've never met anyone yet, thankfully, who was to the extreme on the negative side. And that's pretty wonderful. So the 4 tarot card coordinate for the number 4 is the Emperor. And I find that so interesting because the Emperor tells you what to do. And he's in control. And that represents structure and order and authority. So 4s are great. And if in a different workshop, what I would also talk about is how these numbers, how your life path works with somebody else's life path. And I have really good examples from coaching, because sometimes people will either request a numerology analysis. A lot of psychologists, counselors, life coaches use numerology, because it kind of gives you an x-ray vision into who somebody is and a little bit of information about some of their issues. It's a little bit of a shortcut. So it's interesting if you have a 4 life path and then your mate is a 5, that which we're going to talk about now, it could be some friction there. However, depending on their other core numbers, it might work out. They have to understand the 4's resistance at times and wanting to have a plan. And the 5's, hey, let's just go. Let's just do it. And the 4's going, no, 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 no. I want to have a plan. I want to go, but I need to have a plan. So it's understanding the other person. And that's the other beautiful thing about numerology. You get to understand how other people operate. And wouldn't that be great? Instead of sitting there scratching your head thinking, what the heck is going on with that person? Whether it's psychologically or numerologically or astrologically, they all mirror one another. So a 5 life path is a life of constant change. Now, it could be physically or it could be emotionally, but Kevin used to call the number 5, whether it was a life path or it's your personal year, the fun house, except it's not always fun. It can be. For a 5 life path, it's really important that you travel. And if you don't travel and you can't travel physically, it has to be travel of the mind. It has to be exploring other things, subjects, cultures. Most 5s have the curiosity of a cat. They want to know how things work. And again, most 5s that I know, unless there's any other really strong contradictory numbers, they do want to travel. And a lot of the times they'll have so many experiences in life. It can be so rich, a rich life full of experiences and knowledge and learning new things. But the flip side is sometimes they can be really self-indulgent, overindulgent. They could have addictive personalities. They could resist control. They can have an inability to accept change. So the past life for a number 5, it may have been that they were prejudiced in some ways, or they were narrow-minded, or they were controlling. And now the tarot card, which is missing for some reason from my deck, which is very curious. It's represented by the Hierophant or the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is the bridge between heaven and earth. Now, the curious thing about that is, and was for me, is I could never reconcile how is the Hierophant connected to the 5 life path, which is all about taste, touch, and feel. How could it be the bridge between heaven and earth? And then it just kind of dawned on me, well, in order to bridge, in order to raise our vibrations, we have to do it in this, for all intents and purposes, right now through this human experience. It can be, the number 5 can be the bridge between heaven and earth when it learns about its earthly desires and curiosities and changes that into a spiritual yearning or a spiritual discovery and enjoying all the things of life, but knowing that it's temporary, that it's not going to last forever. So that's how I reconcile the Hierophant. Now the number 6 is similar to the number 2 in the fact that it really needs harmony. Now for a number 6, okay, something is just happening with my computer. Okay. Anybody who I can see right now, can you guys hear me okay? Okay, good, thank you. So responsibility, I'm going to take these jangling bracelets off. For the number 6, it's all about responsibility. That's the key word. They like to be of service. They like to be responsible, whether they're burdened with responsibilities or they just feel responsible for others. They're the counselor, the healer, the helper. Usually they have pretty strong opinions. They appreciate beauty. They can be musical. They can have good voices. They're creative. They're artistic. Some can be political. A lot of politicians have the number 6 because of the diplomatic energies, which is similar to the number 2. The flip side is they've got a lot of strong opinions and they're not too shy about letting you know that what it is. Like, I believe, or I don't even think they say I believe. I think when they're really opinionated, it's I know. And they can be critical. You know, they can tell you what your problems are in case you didn't know. They'll be more than happy to point them out to you. And sometimes they can be really challenging and make unreasonable demands. They're, you know, unable to adjust to situations. Now that's the challenging part of a 6, but the beauty part of the 6 is you're loving and caring and want to see everybody happy. So in a past life, what was likely that happened was they disregarded other people's lives and opinions, and they interfered in others' lives. They used power to intimidate, which sounds like some politicians these days, wouldn't you say? I don't know. So the number, the numerical coordinate to the tarot is the Lovers. Now that's really interesting, but it's very appropriate because a 6 is also needs to love themselves and surrender their heart and spirit to the energy that they have. And they have to understand and look at life through trust and faith and partnerships and love and joy. So that's a number 6. And I think that is, they're all beautiful numbers to me. They're all absolutely beautiful if you work with the positive energy of it. So let's get to the 7. And I always think I should lower my voice when I talk about the 7 because this is deep. And it's always a little bit challenging for me to explain because it is here and it is here. 7 in numerology is the number of God. And you would think, oh, wow, goody, you know, I want that number. Well, just to go back to what I had said at the beginning of the class, to whom much is given, much is demanded. I have known 7s that are incredible. They're wise, they're knowledgeable, they think deep, they're brilliant, they're the dreamer. They like to take things apart to put them back together. They're the teacher, whether that is in a school professor or whether it's spiritual or otherwise. They're intelligence, they're healers. They do like to and need to spend some time alone. But this is the thing about 7s, and I found this repeatedly. A lot of them come in to this incarnation with an addictive personality. And why is that? Their spiritual pull in this lifetime is so strong that in order to help other people and in order to not only evolve spiritually, but to help other people evolve, they have to go through the challenges of something as serious as an addiction. Because I've seen that really so many times. And a lot of times they want to escape in either food or alcohol, sex, drugs, whatever. and they can be cold and they can be aloof. It's the devil or the angel. So in a past life, it's possible as well that they were too cerebral. They had an inability to grasp spiritual knowledge, or it can be that in this lifetime, what they need to do is they're here for other people, because Lord knows if you're associated with an addict, you're either going to grow or die, because it brings everybody in. It's a family disease for sure. So a 7 has incredible abilities to reach these spiritual highs. They're intelligent, they're analytical, they can be spiritual teachers, or just regular, not just regular teachers, but teachers on this earthly plane. And they can just bring so much wisdom to us, or not. And the interesting correlation between the tarot is, guess what? The Chariot. And I realize if some of you don't know the tarot, you go, so what? What does that mean? Well, the Chariot is pulled by two sphinxes, one black and one white. And so it has to make a decision of which way it's going to go. Which road is it going to take? The high road or the low road? And so when you grasp spiritual knowledge, and when you grasp spiritual truths, and obviously you're going to take the high road. So that is a little bit about the 7. And I love 7s, by the way, and I've had a lot of experience with them in my life. Now, the 8 life path, they are usually outstanding when it comes to managing and organizing. They're like the 4 life path, only on steroids, because where the 4 is a good manager, and perhaps if they have some 8s in their name, they rise up to the 8's managerial skills. So a 4 is a good manager of maybe an office or a small corporation. Now the 8 can manage huge corporations. They have outstanding executive strengths. They want success, they want power, they have a strong affinity for money, nothing wrong with that. They have great business and executive skills. An 8 can accomplish so much. It's really a life of accomplishment and achievement, and they are a good judge of character. What's the flip side? Well, they have a desire to control everything and everybody. And if they're not working to the highest aspects of the 8, which is so powerful, then they kind of get lost in this money and power, not just desire, but this, I don't know why I can't think of the word, but I'm sure you guys know exactly what I mean. So they can misuse power and authority, and they can sometimes have little understanding of what money is really about, that it's an energetic exchange. So in the tarot, and I don't have that card either, interestingly, it's the number of strength. And so it represents the quality of patience and compassion and inner strength and quiet determination. So these are all of the aspects that an 8 has at their disposal, as long as they don't get all consumed by money and power and having to be the boss and having to control everything. And if they live the life of an 8, which is using their strength to help organize large companies, and they use that strength to bring people together, they can do such beautiful work because it's a natural inherent talent that they have. So in a past life, I think I talked about that, misuse of authority. So the number 9, here's another number, like, and if you notice, like the 9 and the 7 are both odd numbers. So 9, what a great number, right? It's a universal vibration. It's compassionate, it's artistic, it's idealistic, it's understanding, it's loving. The life of a 9 can reach universal proportions. And like the 11, the 9 has more of a tendency to reach out on a global level. But with that said, let me tell you, all of the numbers, if you're interested in being famous, all of the numbers can offer you that opportunity. But there are a few numbers that they give you a little bit more of a boost up, and 9 is one of them. So again, the life of a 9 can reach universal proportions. It's service to humanity. Now here's the challenge with the 9. 9s can be super sensitive about things. They can be egotistical. They can be moody. They can be judgmental. They can be resentful. You know, those are some of the challenges with the 9. But on the other hand, they have these great big hearts and they want to help everyone and they want to do good. They're artistic again and creative. You find a lot of 9s, a lot of 3s, a lot of 5s in the entertainment field. So it's a wonderful number to have. It's a wonderful number if you are interested in humanitarian efforts. It's a wonderful number, period, as long as you don't fall into the trap of your ego telling you, why did they do that? They shouldn't have done that. I know what to do. I know what's right. No, you don't. You know what's right for you. So the past life could be that you didn't have concern for others and your scope of the world was limited just to yourself. And maybe you were possessive. So in the tarot, this is the card of the Hermit. Now the Hermit, here we go. So what does the Hermit do? The Hermit lights the way for the world. That's the job of the Hermit. What a beautiful card, right? So those are the numbers from 1 to 9. And again, if you added your numbers up correctly, you had a single digit and it fell into one of those 1 to 9 explanations. And I hope that gives you a little bit of understanding about the numbers. And now we're going to talk about 11 and 22. So if you have an 11, the number 11 is the first of the master numbers in numerology. And it's illuminating, it's revelation, it's inspiration. 11s are the seekers of truth. They have concern for the fellow man, and not in just like a personal sense, it's like as a whole globally. They also, 11, and I think I just mentioned that, yeah, 11 sometimes can mean fame. It can be in the limelight. If it's not living up to its highest potential, which is, of course, spiritual and spreading spiritual truth, it will live like the number 2, which there's nothing wrong with living the life of a number 2. It's just that the number 11 asks you to raise your vibration even more. So if you're not living in that vibration and you're not following the suggestions of the number 11 to seek out as much spiritual studies and teachings as you can, raise your vibration, then the flip side is high strung, nervous. They can be prone to headaches, even in some cases, dishonesty. So if you've got an 11, hopefully, and I'm sure you are, living the high side. And if you're not, then start doing it. So 22, if you have a 22, which is the second master vibrations. So what can you expect as a 22? Now, I have known a number of 22s, and I can tell you that they have usually big personalities, and they are usually somehow connected to the world globally in some way. And if not, they just have really strong strong personalities, and really a lot of determination. A 22 master number is a master builder, and they can have worldwide accomplishments. Very, very powerful. And hopefully they're using that, the 22, for humanitarian interest. They organize on a large scale, high intelligence. They're meant to facilitate changes that will benefit mankind. So the flip side would be a lot of the negative aspects of like the 4, which is, closed-minded, brooding, resentments, just not seeing the world globally, having a very myopic vision of the world. So those are the interpretations of the numbers. And I hope that you guys all enjoyed that. And I'm not sure, I don't think we're doing any chats today, but I wanted to just tell you a couple of other things about what we did here today in this masterclass. And for those of you who stuck with me, thank you so much for allowing me to talk to you about something that I'm so passionate about and something that I love so much. Let me just close this other screen here. Okay, I think those were it as far as the numbers go. Well, I think it's 11:07. So now you've taken a dip, not a dive yet, into the world of numerology. I hope it's been enlightening, or at least it's been entertaining. If anyone has posted any questions in the feed, I'll be looking at comments and responding after the show. And if you want to know more, or you're interested in, I think there were specials that were distributed, I'm not sure, but you can talk to me. I did want to mention, I did have some really, really bargain basement specials for today that I've never done before. And I don't mean that like some people say I've never done it before. I mean, really, I've never done it before, because I love EWN, and we're all working so hard to bring light and love to the planet. And this is the best way to do it. And I love Ruth. So if you want to know more, you're interested in any of the specials or just anything, just contact me. It's really easy. Michele Landers, it's Michele with 1 L, Michele Landers at bellsouth.net, or Michele Landers, Michele again with 1 L.com. Also, I do again have a cheat sheet, and that is a little bit, not as much depth as we went into with the numbers, but I do have a cheat sheet for you. Contact me and I'll be happy to send you the information on the numbers from 1 to 9. And just send me an email with numbers in the subject line. And if you want to say anything else, please be my guest. I always like to have a conversation. You could always have a free 20-minute consult with me. That's available too. So continue to check out Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living for some great programming. And I'm excited because I'm going to have a show on Enlightened Network Living in about 2 weeks. Yeah, right, yay. And guess what? The name of the show is, thank you, It's Your Life. And so it's about you and our show. I'll have some great guests, and even more so, it's going to be experiential, because I often like to have some thought-provoking questions or exercises that I use from my coaching practice to help and support you on your own spiritual journey and your spiritual and emotional growth. And I love doing it because I love everything that I do. So, sound good? Okay. So I want to thank you all for sharing your time with me today. I really appreciate it. And God bless you all. Have a great rest of the weekend. Stay safe and contact me with any questions. Namaste.